everyone, and welcome to Revenue Rescue, brought to you by the team here at Affinitiv. We are extra excited today because this month actually marks the one-year anniversary of our webinar series. Over each of those months, we've enjoyed sharing the knowledge and insights that we've gained through our experiences and hope you found them helpful as you determine your own strategies. So whether you're one of our regular attendees or this is your first time joining us, from all of us at Team Affinitiv, thank you. Some quick background if you are one of those who are new to us. We provide marketing and software solutions to over 5,000 dealerships nationwide, working with every major manufacturer in the country. And each month, our Revenue Rescue webisode will feature a new topic addressing common challenges within your dealership that may be leaving revenue on the table. In the end, our goal is really to guide you through solution and strategy ideas to help you make the best decisions possible for your business. Today, we have Courtney Evans, Affinitiv's Vice President of Product. She's going to talk about modernizing the owner retention program, probably the most common tool used in a dealership today. But these tend to use a dated, generic approach. In this first installment of a multi-part series on ORP, Courtney will help you ensure yours is enhanced with the most up-to-date targeting strategies and channel options to drive higher engagement. And with that, I will turn it over to Courtney.
Thanks, Ann. I wanted to welcome everyone to our first webinar that will be focused around your owner retention programs. Over the next few months, we will be looking at various ways to revamp and rethink a product that many of you already know about and have probably been using for years. Owner retention program, service reminder program, reminder product, trigger-based communications. I'm sure you've heard them all, and the list probably continues on. But no matter what you call it, they are all the same product. One that has the intention of sending communications in various channels at automated times throughout the life cycle of a vehicle. Whether the trigger is time, mileage, or customer driven, it's a great way of communicating with your customers without ever having to lift a finger. It goes on itself. If you're using an owner retention program, you know that these communications are going out in a timely and relevant fashion to your customers. They're pretty much the backbone to any new marketing program and probably the product that is best known in the automotive industry, probably the one that's been around the longest. So the goal of any retention program historically has been to remind customers that they are due for service, have declined some sort of service at a previous appointment, or thank them for taking an action to their vehicle. We've seen with telematics, digital, new forms of data that the relevancy of these reminders has really become more accurate, and we can do a lot more with this program. We also want to keep our customers engaged and loyal so that frequent communications not only remind them for service, but also keep your dealership at the top of mind when service comes, and that they feel like they can trust you with their vehicle. As mentioned, everyone on this call is probably familiar with some degree of retention programs or has been using them for years. I know for me, it was the first product that I ever learned when I started my career in automotive about 15 years ago. And some of the components are still the same as they were back then. It really has the same goal in mind. And it's certainly the first product that really gained traction in the after-sales automotive marketing world. It was the first one that people could grasp and, put into effect without having to lift that finger. But if you think that we can use those same, thoughts and the same strategy that we used 10, 15, 20 years ago, that's where we're wrong. The program has really continued to evolve and has changed with everything that is going on with data, technology, and digital advancement. What worked 10 years ago, selecting your offers and channels at the time that you signed the contract and set up the program, and only selecting communications that showed the most ROI, and trying to put a budget to the program is not what is going to work today. It's not going to give you the results you need. Today, your retention programs need to be rethought for a digital era and one that is centered around the customer, not the vehicle. You think you know retention programs, but do you know their value and what they provide? Is that hundreds or thousands of dollars that you spend each month really worth it? Well, to begin with, the second a person makes a decision to buy with you, you have a 60% chance of having that customer make a second purchase. So customers in your DMS and how we choose to market to them has a 60% chance of having an ROI. This means that your chances are higher than with any other competitor, that the second that car drives off the lot, we can get them back. So how do we increase that number and ensure that they return to you? Now that customer has come back, they've made that decision for a second purchase or to repeatedly service their vehicle. You can now pat yourself on the back because that one customer is worth 10 times more than any of the customers who made just that initial service, that initial purchase. Having a customer return for the second, third, or fourth service visit is really the hardest part of the game, and it's exactly what the retention program aimed to do. And what happens when a customer goes to a competitor? We lose them for any given reason. It's said that that customer is about $243 in lost revenue. Now we all have to plan on losing these customers. It's going to happen. Not everyone will see value. Some will move. Some will hit other milestones in life. But we have to focus on retaining as many as we can. The retention program is the backbone to all of these statements. It is a tool that you can use to consistently be sending relevant content to your customers and attempting to keep them engaged. But what's the difference in attempting versus doing? How do you ensure that your owner retention program is up to speed, modernized to speak to customers in today's world, and is going to do what you want it to do? So looking back at the last slide, the three big points that we hit on, new customers, service reminders, and inactives, are all audiences that we can accurately communicate to through the use of an owner retention program. You could set it up to use just these three communications and hit a really good size audience. Everything we do today is changing and evolving. There are hundreds of jobs that did not exist 10 years ago created every day. I bet the tools that you use to service a similar make or model have changed immensely. Because of all this, our owner retention programs need to evolve as well. Our audiences are changing. More and more consumers own vehicles for longer periods of time and increasing the need for service. We're also busier than ever, have two-income households, and rely on convenience. I know when I select my dealership, it has to be somewhere that I can go with my kids and get the best service at the quickest amount of time. And these are all things that we need to consider when talking owner retention programs. We can't just rely on servicing the vehicle. So let's think of our cell phone. Your owner retention needs to reflect the time and the era. It is no longer that set it and forget it program that runs in the background and never changes. So that cell phone comment, imagine if you were still using that old Nokia brick phone that we all had in the early 2000s. Think it would be fun or let alone even work today? I bet many of you have been using your owner retention program for that same amount of time. You probably had that Nokia cell phone when you signed up for your first retention program, or possibly even longer. So how can we not modernize one thing, but have another thing that has grown immensely and changed with the time? So what do I mean by modernize? Have you started using some of the newer channels? What about the other communications that have been added that speak to your customers between scheduled service visits? Not just service reminders, but some of the ones that, talk to them about the technology on the vehicle or different things you're doing in the dealership? Have you started to explore the realms of telematics and what it can do to your program? And have you thought of what it means to talk to the customer and not the vehicle? All of these things can help to increase the return you see on your retention programs and help to stay up to date and current. Think of having at least the latest iPhone versus that old dated Nokia. Do you think a majority of your audience will be viewing these communications on a cell phone where it wasn't even possible 20 years ago? Channels are only one of the areas that need to be modernized, but a big one. Ensuring that your customers actually see these communications result in money better spent. I know personally, I whip out my cell phone to check emails way more than I actually go to a desktop computer. I'm also shopping on my cell phone a lot more than I was. 10 years ago, email was a big thing. Everyone wanted in. It was the latest rage. But today, people are bombarded with spam emails, and most are deleted. We also talk about this Amazon era, the idea that most bills are now automated online, and people are shopping via the internet. Because of this, people are excited to go to their mailbox. Wouldn't you like to be part of that excitement and have something that actually gets looked at? 83% of the population is actively using social media, which creates a great platform to communicate on and something that you know is going to get through to your customers. Another area to reconsider is how are you measuring success? Most dealers rely on ROI reporting, the number of the dollars that we see in return for the spend of the program. Most marketing companies will always promise to deliver the top ROI, but we also need to consider that this is convoluted and also not the only necessary KPI to measure success. It's an important one, but not the only one. Measuring for retention and loyalty are other key metrics that need to be thought about. No matter how much a customer spends on a given transaction or how often they come in, a loyal customer who routinely services at your dealership is worth more than any customer that you will ever bring in through conquest. You've heard the saying, it's cheaper to keep her, and this rings true in the automotive after-sales world. Two of my favorite examples of focusing on retention and loyalty metrics rather than ROI is both communications that do not warrant immediate ROI and having a max spend on retention programs. Let me go into a little detail there. So for looking at communications that do not warrant ROI, what does this mean? There are plenty of communications in your retention program that serve as informational or interim. These are the communications that are sent when your customers are not due for service. It could be promoting, certain boutique items, teaching them about technology in their car, or just advertising a routine event in the dealership. Maybe you have some type of educational or informational session. While these might not show immediate ROI, and some of them don't even have offers on them, they do help to build a relationship with the customer, foster trust and loyalty, and prove that you know the vehicle and that the customer better than anyone else. And then on the other side about how I say max spend on retention programs, there are many people that put a budget on their ORPs. This is something that we saw, across all dealers, 10, 15 years ago. But basically, this is saying that certain customers are better than others. By putting a max spend on a product that impedes communications from going out the door, you are not communicating to customers who have already serviced with you. Yes, you may lower the cost, but in the long run, you're going to spend more to conquest new customers in than when you lose the ones that have already been in and do not receive the necessary marketing to make them feel like they have been communicated to in a timely and relevant manner. Nothing is worse than getting a service reminder that is not timely or has been past due just because it didn't fall into the budget on a given, cycle. So going to the next slide. And these two that are on the screen really do go together. In a previous world, most dealers would select their offers at the time of sign-up, select the communication channels, and then never look at anything other than the reporting going forward. Now you need to constantly be evolving your communications to not only meet the standards of time, but the marketing needs of your dealership, as well as talking to the customers as customers, not vehicles. Remember, it takes an actual human to bring a car in for service, or at least make that conscious decision that they need to do something to their vehicle. But so much of our vehicle is geared towards the vehicle. While cost is important, it cannot outweigh the need to be convenient, relevant, and give the feeling of trust. I know that most consumers will spend more if it's convenient and, they know that they can feel that trust in whoever's performing the service. Customers return more times when they feel that they are not being ripped off and truly understand that their needs are being met. Not just the needs of the vehicle, but the needs of the person who owns the vehicle. We really need to do a better job through our marketing in explaining why it is so important to service at an OEM-endorsed service center, and why the parts are different, why the technicians are trained on those specific OEMs. On top of all this, our marketing needs to speak to the customer. There are plenty of customers who come through the service drive for various different reasons, from different backgrounds, and have different intentions. This is where data can help us to evolve our marketing. By using data that we can better communicate to our customers and give them that personalized experience. Even when a product that is set to be automated and communicated at set times, you can really personalize this to the individual so that when they receive it, they feel like it was created for them. How can we do this? We can really look to segment the audiences out and better understand your general public by the use of this data. The communications can be created to be timely and relevant to that unique customer. So an example, the customer who purchased their vehicle from you, but maybe a snowbird and only drives the vehicle during summer months, can be communicated to very differently than a daily driver who drives over 40 miles to work daily. They're probably on different service schedules and probably have different wants for their vehicle. And we can address those by just understanding that customer better through the use of data that might not exist in our DMS. And this is a topic that we will touch on more as we expand on this series of webinars geared towards retention programs, because it's one that's prevalent and really, out there in the industry. So another point I'd like to make is trust your marketing provider. There are hundreds of available options out there, and no matter who you go with, you need to feel like they have your best interest in mind. We'll take care of the program and consult you along the way on what is going to drive the best results, and then deliver those results and make things better than they were yesterday. All of the items we covered today are a lot to think about, especially when you're managing a dealership. Your marketing provider for your owner retention program should be the expert. They are trained to know these things and read the reporting and consult you on what's going to be best for you and your dealership alone. Every dealership is different, just like every customer is different. I'm sure you've heard the term wraparound program, a program that looks to deliver communications outside of your OEM endorsed program. I'd be lying if I said I haven't set these up, because the fact is a lot of programs do not deliver the wealth of communication that you could actually be sending out and building the best relationship with your clients. But I would also be lying if I told you that this is what I preach as best practice. Your retention program should all come from one source that you trust, have the communications that you need, and understand the need of the dealership, clients, and marketing goals. If you're selecting multiple providers for your program, you are allowing the opportunity to double communicate, communicate at the wrong time, or not have the same data across partners to accurately market. Remember that a retention program is building more and more data as it goes. It's learning your customers, it's accruing that data, and it can use it to better operate in the future. It takes time to understand your DMS and how to market effectively. This is not possible when you have different communications coming out of different systems and different providers. If anything, remember that the goal of your owner retention program is to build loyalty, communicate timely and consistently, and warrant trust with your customers. Your marketing provider should be able to provide this and understand your unique needs. Vet several out, and don't be afraid to look outside the box of opportunities or what you know and think you know. You have enough on your plate. Leave the marketing to the people who specialize it and are truly up to speed on current market trends and the latest things out there. Because just like your cell phone, these things are changing daily. In conclusion, your owner retention program is just that, a product set in place to retain the customers you already have. But it is not the same product you subscribed to years ago. No. It is a constantly evolving and changing product that is set to meet your marketing needs of your dealership and reach your customers in the way that they want to be reached. In order to get the most ROI, retention and loyalty from the money that you put into the ORP, and make sure that the marketing needs of your dealers are at top of mind, we need to be thinking about your audiences and not just the vehicle. We need to be talking to the consumer who has to take action. Your marketing provider should be your best bet in learning more about this and helping you to modernize this product to keep current with the times. They will be able to tweak the program month over month to show you the results that you want to see. Don't be afraid to think outside of the box. Your ORP goes further than any report that will ever be put in front of you. It's a true tool to keep communication open with the people who matter the most, your customers. And we want to make sure that you learn, how to modernize this as the times come. So with that, if you're looking to learn more about this and how, the owner retention program needs to be rethought, revamped, and repurposed, we invite you to join us over the next few months when we revisit other ideas on this topic. We'll be expanding on the topics that I brought up today and some other ones. Some of the things that I want to cover are, looking into what channels to deploy to a specific customer, not just across your program. How to interlock your ORP with various other products. How to look past your DMS when thinking about your data sources and how to bring in some third-party data to utilize within your retention programs, and a couple other things. From many and many conversations with both dealers and other providers, many are looking at ORP at face value, or what we looked at it 15 years ago, a way to retain your customer. And while that is still the main goal, we need to give this a new age spin and modernize it, how we view and talk about them. And we'll do just that. Our goal is truly to help you get the most from your marketing and build that much needed loyalty and retention with your customers. Remember that saying that I used, a few slides back, it's cheaper to keep her. How we market to the customers we already have might just be the most important thing that you do on a daily basis to keep that shop running and your customers that have already been there coming back. So thanks again, and we look forward to you joining us next month on another edition of Revenue Rescue, where we continue this conversation. I'm Courtney Evans, and enjoy the rest of your day.